Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our presentation this afternoon is going to dive into how to save time using document automation in a family law firm. And so as we get into today's topic, I can share a little bit of my background as a former practice management advisor for the Chicago Bar Association, but then also as a technology trainer and helping build products and services for law firms. Document automation and assembly has been something that I've been personally passionate about since the early 2000s. I think that the use of document automation and assembly tools is one of the few technologies where law firms and their staff can see the greatest impact right out of the gate. And so teaching today joining me is Tucker Cottingham, the co-founder of LawYaw, which is a cutting-edge provider of document automation tools for law firms. And they're based in California. And just getting to know Tucker and his team, as soon as I saw LawYaw come into the marketplace, I've seen all kinds of technology out there, and this was by far, one of the coolest, most exciting things I had seen in a long time because, Tucker, you and your team have been able to break through a lot of the technical barriers that we'll explain in today's session and really make document automation accessible and affordable for the solo and the small law firms that need it most. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you yourself are also an attorney and had practiced in San Francisco, so you've used and seen these tools firsthand. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to co-found LawYaw and build the technology that we're going to be seeing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm also an attorney and started out my career in litigation. Worked in a litigation firm for just the beginning couple of years and then moved to a transactional practice. And what I realized as a small firm is that we were really incentivized to be doing business development and to be kind of specialized and be as efficient as possible. And so, if we were able to streamline our projects and save time on the stuff that we knew really well and use our own documents, then I was really able to leverage that free time to increase our profitability and to increase business development and to spend more quality time with clients. And so I kind of became obsessed while I was building the law firm with trying to figure out how we could do that in the best way possible and really distinguish ourselves by, spending more time with clients, which was the thing that I really enjoyed doing, and providing that unique value. And I realized that document automation could be a really key component of that. But there just weren't any good tools available. There weren't any tools available that let me use my own documents in an easy way. There weren't very many tools available to let me use a Mac, and we use a lot of Macs. We wanted to use Macs in our firm. And so I was just kind of amazed at the lack of available tools to do this thing that I thought, would be really, really impactful in my own firm. And then once we kind of started branching out and talking to other attorneys, realized, how valuable it could be for them. And I joined with my co-founder, Vahed, who's a computer scientist, and we started LawYaw.
Awesome. Well, I've been following you guys for a long time, and the opportunity to teach today's class together is kind of an awesome collision of what I've been seeing in firms for years, and now that seeing this technology go live and have it be available today is a massive milestone and help for everyone. So I want to talk for a second about what that timeline has been and the difference between document automation and assembly, because I think that a lot of the reason why maybe some firms don't adopt is because there's a misconception about what it actually does. And so 2010 and prior, document automation and the assembly products were really only available to bigger firms or those that could afford server and infrastructure. So products that you might have heard, such as Hot Docs or iManager, some of those massive pieces of software that require so much support, it just didn't make sense for firms to implement them. And then you also bring up a great point that Mac users have pretty much been left out in the cold. Like, they haven't had any opportunity to use these products because they weren't web-based. It required something that was installed locally on your PC, or that required a server environment, which is incredibly expensive. So the one really standout difference that put Lawya on the map, and seeing you guys at ABA Tech Show this year, was that you're cloud-based, and that you've also leveraged machine learning and artificial intelligence to make document automation accessible. So, can you talk a little bit about the technology that you've used, or that you've put together, to really bring a historically unavailable solution now into the web?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we're really excited about is, because I built a law firm and have experience practicing law myself, I kind of have a perspective on technology, which is that we want technology that works, that's easy to use, and that's very practical, and that just works to do the thing that we need it to do. As it turns out, for document automation, to get to the place where we have really practical, easy to use technology, we can leverage AI and machine learning to make the document automation easier. So I think one of the things I kind of want to emphasize is that there's a lot of hype right now about AI technology and machine learning. And the way that we use that technology is really just to do the thing that we're doing better. And so the way that, like, to give you a very concrete example, there's many forms in California, thousands of court forms. And it's really hard when programming forms to understand what information goes into those forms. It's hard for a computer to understand that. And so we use the AI to understand that the attorney name goes here, and the client's name goes here, and this is the child's name, and this is the petitioner's name, and so forth. And we can use that same technology to understand and make it easy to code Microsoft Word documents. So law firms have a lot of templates, from engagement agreements to letters, discovery motions, all kinds of things. And it traditionally has been very hard to automate those documents because it required a lot of manual tags. And so the technology that we've built, it's a cloud-based platform. And as you mentioned, the technology just makes it really easy to turn those documents into templates. You can just use regular language. It's very easy to identify what parts of the documents change, wire them together with other parts, build logic. And the advantage to that is that for the end user, for people using the software, it's just very simple. And so we use a lot of kind of fancy technology, and my co-founder has a PhD in computer science and worked at Google for a long time. But most of that, is under the hood, and what it allows is for just sort of very practical, easy to use technology in your law firm.
Yeah, to get in and just have it work like your iPhone.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is fancy technology, and if anybody's interested in learning more about sort of what's going on under the hood, I'm always happy to kind of nerd out and talk about that stuff. But I think that one of the things that sets us apart is we actually use that to give a better, simpler end user experience.
Yeah. And that end user experience translates into very real benefits. So let's dive into what the difference between document automation and assembly is, because they are two different things. And so I think complex document assembly is something that, if you're looking at a massive document that's, 30, 40, 50, 60 pages and requires all kinds of dependencies and clauses, that's more along the lines of document assembly. Whereas document automation, and the demo of what we're going to see today, is something that you can use for everyday documents, everyday forms, that takes repetitive tasks and trims them down from manual hours of human-powered entry to being able to control and automate those documents in a matter of seconds. It's the simple merge of information, oftentimes driven by a form library. So document automation is, incredibly accessible, very easy to implement into daily life, whereas document automation is easy to fold into everyday life, and then document assembly is something that requires like a little bit more programming and handles those complex documents. And the overall benefits that solo and small firms see, and why I've been passionate about this technology since the early 2000s, is that it reduces errors and malpractice risk. So when you're using the same court forms, when you're using the same documents over and over and over again, eliminating the risk around having an error or going back, maybe even something as simple as a typo in a client's name or an address that's missing one number, or doesn't have a west or east or a south added to it. It eliminates those because it takes one definitive set of information, so the client's name, address, phone number, contact details, or case information, and then populates one or more forms, documents, so on and so forth. And we're actually going to see that live today in a quick demo with you. But it decreases the overall document preparation time. And also what's different about LawYacht is that you can build a form set specific to case type, which is something that also has not previously been offered. You can create a set of documents and then change that client's details or those case details once and have it populate across the entire form set. So just the benefits from a time perspective are clear and evident, but it's also the benefits from an error reduction and that malpractice, decreasing the risk of malpractice of going back and using the same documents over and over and over again, that firms can really see and take advantage of right away. And then the next impact is the profitability. So I always say, in my CLE classes, that if you are doing work that can be done, by a less expensive resource, whether that's technology or maybe it's a paralegal or something else, that you're robbing your firm of the delta between your hourly rate and what it would cost to actually do that with a support person or with a piece of technology. And to your point earlier, Tucker, of spending your time on rainmaking activities or substantive casework or really applying your expertise to the case is what clients come to you for. They come to you for those high value hours and not necessarily, the completion of paperwork. While it is required, they're coming to you because you're an expert in what you do.
Yeah, and if I could just add something to that, Chelsea, I think the other thing for small law firms is that most of our business comes from referrals and from relationships. And I think that right now there's an opportunity to leverage some of this technology in a way that really makes you stand out among your competitors and among the other firms that do similar work. And so that if you can, for the same price, spend a lot more time and build a better relationship with that client, your chances of getting better reviews, of getting better referrals, of getting more introductions skyrockets. And so there's this period of time, which I think is really exciting for practicing attorneys, where these early kind of adopters of this type of technology suddenly have this massive competitive edge where they're able to really distinguish value. And then you get a lot better, introductions and referrals and better clients. And so I think that we're in this kind of golden zone right now where there's enough people who are still doing things the old-fashioned way that there's this tremendous opportunity to really distinguish yourself and your law firm in terms of client satisfaction and services as well.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. It is becoming more and more important to treat the delivery of legal services as something that is measured on a customer satisfaction and success and service basis, because they're comparing the relationships that they have with other service providers and the things that we use in our daily life to how they interact with the law firm. The use of technology, everything from like text message appointment reminders to how efficiently I can schedule an appointment and what are the things that are available for me to do on my own on your website. And so utilizing technology and streamlining the way that we work allows you to focus more of your time on those customer service aspects. And especially for solos, the document automation tools allow you to scale without hiring. Or if you're in a growing firm, how can you manage the ebbs and flows of caseload, when all of a sudden now an extra few cases come through the door, but it's not enough to hire or add an additional person onto the team? Or how do we give our existing team the resources that they need, that they don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of work that has to be done on a daily basis? So it's a great tool for scaling as well. And then some of the most common forms, which I know that we're going to dive into here for family law, they can be used at every stage of the case. And I think you're also going to be showing us an engagement letter as well. So I wanted to give everybody just kind of an overview of some of the most popular forms that LawYaw clients use on a regular basis. And Tucker's going to actually show us a live demonstration so we can see the tool in action. I'm going to pass presenter control over to you, Tucker.
Sure.
There we go.
Okay. Great. Can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is the LawYaw website, lawyaw.com, and you just come here and log in. We log in. And then this is the home screen here. And so I'll give you kind of an overview of how the software works. And I think just one thing I wanted to add, Chelsea, to kind of your overview is that, throughout the history of sort of the legal tradition, there's always been improvements to how lawyers draft documents. And so, we went from dictation to word processing, and from, WordPerfect to MS Word. And so this idea of, lawyers figuring out how to improve the document drafting process to provide better services for their clients and be better advocates has been consistent for as long as attorneys have existed. And so I think that this is a really big step forward in that very long tradition. And so that's something that I think is always kind of exciting to me personally, to see the improvements over time with document drafting. And so this is LawYaw, and this is the home screen here. And we try to keep it very simple, very straightforward. The way that LawYaw is organized is by clients. So you have your list of clients, and then clients have projects. And projects are just a group of documents that you want to draft together. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a matter or a map to anything specific, other than for this client, I'm going to draft these documents together. And LawYaw is very, very focused on helping people draft documents better. And so that's as much as there is to it in terms of what the project definition is. When you first log in, you'll want to create a profile. And so you can see here you have a profile, you can have a picture, you can tell us a little bit about your firm, and then this information becomes auto-populated across your documents. You can have multiple attorneys in a law firm, and you can choose the responsible attorney for a given project. So there are two primary ways to use LawYaw. The first I'll show you is by choosing your documents from our document library. And so let's go into John Doe, for example, and we can add a new project. So let's say we want to do we can start with an engagement agreement and put in a case number, and we'll go next. This is what we call our stack builder. So this is where we have over 5,000 court forms, all of the local court forms, all of the judicial council forms, some federal forms, and then we also have the ability to turn your own internal documents, your Microsoft Word documents, into templates. And so in this example, I think automating retainer agreements and client services agreements, is one of the sort of easiest ways to get a quick win with any law firm, because it's very repetitive. You can't bill for it. We all have gone through the motions of having to put these together and send them out. So just to show you one example, you would go into your templates. These are custom templates. You just add your document, you go into populate, and you fill out some basic information. So let's put in matter 42. Let's give the agreement effective date. We can make it today, and let's make it $2,500. So you just enter in a few bits of information, and then LawYaw generates your document. And so as you can see here, we've got, the matter 42, the case number, we've got the hours, we've got all of the information put into the template. And then if we want to go to sign, we can very easily send this out directly for signature. And so there's a built-in e-sign tool into LawYaw, and you can upload your own image. So you can see here, and we're just using a sample one here, but I can put my signature here. We can send it out to the client as well, and then we'll have a record here. So that's one way to use your custom templates. Another example is that if we wanted to do a entry of judgment, for example, we can go in and do the same thing where we can go through, search these different forms. So, if I wanted to do FL 130, I have my FL 130, I can see it's added, but I can preview the form here, make sure this is the right document, and I can add it to my selection. And so I've pre-made this stack of documents here. And one of the really nice things about Lawyaw is you can combine multiple forms into a stack. And so rather than drafting these documents one at a time or having them each on their own tab, you can simply say, these are the documents that I draft together. You can arrange them in the right order so that you have, your documents in the order that you want. You could even pull in attachments if you have a PDF with, an exhibit or an attachment. And then you go into populate mode. Now this is where we extract all the repeated information across these forms. We let you enter the information one time, and then the information goes across all of your documents. So disclaimer here is that I am not a family law attorney, but I've worked with many family law attorneys, and we can kind of see how this works. And so you go through the populate stage and you fill out all of the information here. And once you fill out these blanks, you go to drafting, and you can see that information goes into these documents. And so it'll go across the different documents here, and you'll be able to see changes. Now, if you want to make a change, so say I wanted to, change this case number. This is just as an example. You can see that the box changes color. So now that's a broken field. So that was originally populated. So the information case number went across all of these 5 documents, but now I can make a one-off change, and now that field is broken. So you're really, once you populate your stack of documents or your individual document, you're really not restricted at all. So you can make changes, you can edit this just like you would a regular PDF. You can cut and paste, you can click, your check boxes, you can type in information. And then you can also send the documents out for e-sign if you need to. One of the things that I think is pretty neat is that you can auto shrink text, and you can also add custom fields. So for people that have used things like Essential Forms, you've kind of seen this type of functionality. And then if we were to continue typing here, it'll shrink the text to fit the box. So that's one of the nice features. And so this is one way to use Lawyaw, is to go through the stack builder, choose your forms, and then fill them out as a group for a given client. People can oftentimes have a paralegal take a first pass. They can mark the project ready for review. It's constantly saving, so you don't need to worry about saving it. And then you can go back to your client and you can see your different projects, and you can see that, okay, this is ready for my review. Now, one of the nice things about Lawyaw is that because it's cloud-based, there's no dedicated machines, there's no CD-ROM, there's no installation, there's no IT maintenance. You can access your account from any computer or any device. You can use your iPad, and then you can go to work and be on your computer, and then you can have your laptop on a trip. If somebody's sick for a day, they can still log in and use your forms, and then you can log in and follow up with additional edits. So there's this collaborative aspect to it, kind of access it from anywhere. And so I think that's been a big change from, sort of previous generation CD-ROM based programs. Now, the other thing that you can do, so that's the first way to use Lawyaw, is to kind of go through and choose your forms. The other thing that you can do is you can create template bundles. And so as you mentioned, Chelsea, you can create forms, document sets, so form sets, and you can preload them with, these different forms. And you can even pre-check boxes. And so you can go in and you can say, I'm always going to check, these 3 boxes. I'm always going to say, see attachment here. I'm always going to add a custom header. I'm always going to do these few things with these different projects. And so you can save those template bundles. And then if you want to use the template bundle, you simply click duplicate. And then you click your target client, which for us is John Doe. And then you duplicate that entire bundle into this client project. So now you can go here and you can, add your case number, so forth. Family court services, for example. And then when you go into your document here, you'll be able to see that the different information will populate across the document. So you'll have your pre-saved check boxes, and you'll have your information and so forth. And to show you again, so the way you do that is you just create a client here called Family Law Template Bundles. You have your forms, and if you want to see what information is going to be saved in your template bundle, you can see that there's these check boxes that are saved. You can have sample text that's always saved and so forth. So across your documents, you can keep the information consistent, and then it's just really easy to just reuse. You don't have to choose the documents every time. You don't have to put in the information every time.
This would be particularly helpful, to come up with one case type or document set per case type, so that every time you get a new case, it becomes part of the process of going into LawYaw, selecting that document set, and populating the information.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we see that particularly in family law, where there are very frequent sets of documents that are used. Some of the documents that you showed, are most used documents, and I think that family law is particularly well suited for this type of program, just because you draft a lot of forms together. So when you're doing your FL 130s and FL 144s and 170s and 180s and 190s, you can count on the fact that you're going to have a lot of those documents. And just to show you, if we did say that we copied that template bundle, and then say we wanted to remove a document. In this case, we don't need one of these documents. We can just take that off of the stack, and then we can still, go into our drafting mode and so forth, and go into the project, and we've now dropped that document. So that's kind of how you use LawYaw. And again, it's create a client, then under the client there's projects. Those are groups of documents you draft. You can select from over 5,000 preloaded forms, or you can upload your own forms. If you want to upload Microsoft Word documents, you can just drag and drop them into this template here, and then we'll release them into your account. We also have a help center with a lot of helpful information. We have live support, so if you ever have any questions, you can just easily chat us, and so there's always going to be somebody there available. And then for the collaborative aspect, I'll just show you really quick how to add people to your account. And so when you look here, you can just go to subscription. So you go settings, subscription, add seats, and then you can just add your different seats. And so this way you can add everybody in your organization onto your account, and then everybody has their own login, and everybody can log in, do drafts, and edit forms, and have their own clients. So that's kind of LawYaw in a nutshell. I think that what we're seeing a lot of people using more and more is automating their engagement agreements, using that e-signature tool, creating these sets of documents, and just being able, lawyers, we do these projects a lot, right? So we become very familiar with them. And I think people kind of know what they're doing, to where if they can just be more efficient, reduce errors, that gives them a lot of leverage in their practice. I guess the last thing I can show, actually, Chelsea, is the integration as well. Yes. So we do have some exciting integrations. We have one with Clio. And so Clio, most people are familiar with, is the cloud-based billing software. And so we let you integrate your account with Clio. It's super easy to do. And then you can pull your contacts from Clio into LawYaw, or you can push contacts you created in LawYaw into Clio. And I can show you how easy it is. It's literally one button. Let me say allow access. And there we are. So now if I want to go create a new client, you can see that Albert Einstein is copied to Clio, and I can import from Clio and search for anybody's information. You'll see your list of clients, and you can just pull them into LawYaw.
Excellent. And I'm going to grab presenter control back from you.
Sure.
Okay. There we go. And so I've got a couple of extra minutes here. If anybody has questions, feel free to enter them into the questions pane. And while we're in the QA portion, I'm going to put your contact information up here, Tucker, so that people know where to find you. You can also try a LAWYA form by going to the website and either starting for free with your own documents, which I highly encourage you to do, to give it a try and see how easy it is. But then also you can reach out to Tucker at lawya.com or Tucker at lawya.com is his direct email. During today's question and answer, one of our first inquiries is, how do you see this used, or can this be used by pro bono or nonprofit organizations that provide legal services?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with a lot of pro bono and legal services organizations. So, you know, more than a dozen legal aid organizations and pro bono organizations are using it, probably closer to 24. And so absolutely, it's a great use case. It really helps you to you know, be more efficient and help more people. We've got a bunch of people who would give great recommendations if you're interested in that. Just shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Okay. And then another question is, does the program allow me to access other forms from other areas of law? Sometimes I get cases that cross over into immigration or probate.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that I was frustrated with was this idea of other form kind of software segmenting everything. So whether it's segmented by, you know, this geographical area or this practice area. And so we don't do that at all. So with your basic LAWYA subscription, you have access to all 5,000 plus court forms in California. That covers probate, that covers civil litigation, unlawful detainers, family law, all of the local court forms, all of the state court forms, and then we also have all federal immigration forms. And so we keep those up to date. We regularly update them, no maintenance. And so with your, you know, with your account, you have access to all of those documents, and you can search and use them as you like.
Excellent. Next question. When will the family law firms calculate math, specifically FL 150 and FL 142?
That is a great question, and one of our most requested features. So we're actually working on that now. So we will be releasing the math component for the family law forms in the near future. So keep an eye out for updates, but that's something that does come up.
If they're on your list, they'll get an update email when that is available. Is that?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, great. Any other questions before we wrap up today's session? And if they need help with those, you know, drag and drop Word documents, again, there's live support. So if you have an engagement letter, retainer agreement, something like that that you'd like to drag and drop in there, and you want somebody to walk you through it, there's absolutely a resource to help you do that. And in the meantime, feel free to, and then there's another question. Is there a built-in tracker for the time spent on a project?
That is a good question. We don't have a built-in tracker, but I didn't show the ability to record your time. So you can record your time and immediately push it into Clio if you have the Clio integration. So there's a timekeeping tab that surfaces. If you do the Clio integration, you can record your time. We don't automatically track all of the time for you. But if that's something you're interested in, I'd be curious to hear more about that. We're always trying to improve the product. And so, you know, would definitely be open to talking with you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, and any other questions from our audience today? This presentation has been recorded and will be emailed out to you within the next 24 hours. So you can feel free to share the recording with any colleagues, teammates, or contacts that you would think may find it beneficial. Also feel free to share it with lawyers in other practice areas. As we mentioned, immigration and probate, all of the California forms are available inside of LAWYA. So if today's information was valuable to you, feel free to send it on to anyone that you might know that could find it also equally helpful. And we'll include contact information for the LAWYA team in that email with the recording. Tucker, any final thoughts or statements before we wrap up today?
No, thank you so much for hosting, and great to have the chance to show a little bit more about Lawya. And if anybody has any questions, happy to talk.
Thanks so much. And everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time.